Welcome to Creepy Tales and Curiosities, where tonight we're diving deep into one of the most terrifying and truly haunted locations in America. A house so feared, it has driven owners to flee in the middle of the night, never to return. This is the Bellaire House, where the line between the living and the dead is almost non-existent and darker forces have been unleashed. The Bellaire House stands quietly in Bellaire, Ohio, a small town along the Ohio River. From the outside, it may look like any other aging home. Brick walls, old windows, but this house holds a sinister secret. It's become notorious in the paranormal community for its relentless and violent hauntings. The strange occurrences date back to the mid-1800s when the house was first built. At the time, it was owned by the Hebert family, who endured a string of tragedies within its walls. Edwin Hebert, a prominent figure in the town, died suddenly. His sister, Lydia, devastated by her brother's death, became obsessed with the idea of contacting him in the afterlife. Desperation led her to hold seances in the house, and many believe this is where the true horrors of Bellaire began. But what Lydia didn't know, and what many who have lived here since came to realize too late, is that sometimes the spirits you call upon aren't the ones you expect. It is widely believed that during one of these seances, Lydia inadvertently opened a portal, an entryway between our world and the other side. What stepped through wasn't the spirit of her brother. Instead, darker, more malevolent entities entered the house. The spirits she had summoned were not here to comfort her, but to torment anyone who dared to live within those walls. And this portal may never have closed. Over the years, many residents and visitors have reported unnerving experiences. Doors opening and slamming shut, disembodied voices whispering in the dead of night, shadowy figures lurking in corners, and the oppressive feeling of being watched. But these are just the small things, the beginning of the Bellaire House's story. The real terror begins when you learn about the demonic entities that supposedly reside here. The paranormal investigations surrounding the Bellaire House have consistently reported one thing: the presence of powerful negative entities. Some believe these spirits aren't just your average restless souls. They are demonic. They thrive on fear, and their goal is not just to scare, but to hurt, to manipulate, and ultimately, to possess. One of the most terrifying accounts came from Kristin Lee, a former owner of the house, who purchased the property in 2005. She had no idea about the house's haunted history and was simply looking for a new home. But almost immediately after moving in, her life became a nightmare. Kristin recalls the first few nights as eerie but manageable. Objects moved on their own, shadows darted across the walls, and she felt strange cold spots in rooms where there was no draft. But soon, things escalated. She would be lying in bed at night and feel the unmistakable sensation of something breathing down her neck. She heard whispers, sometimes faint, other times louder, telling her things like, "Get out," or "You're not welcome." She wasn't alone, and it wasn't just ghosts. Kristin began seeing shadow figures more frequently, but they weren't like the spirits described by previous owners. These were darker, more aggressive. She described feeling an overwhelming sense of dread when they appeared, as if the very air around her had thickened, pressing down on her. At one point, Kristin said that these entities physically attacked her. She was scratched, pushed, and even once thrown against a wall. The most disturbing encounter came when she awoke one night to find a tall, dark figure standing at the foot of her bed. It didn't move, didn't make a sound, but she felt its presence, an evil, malevolent energy. Frozen with fear, she could do nothing but close her eyes and pray it would go away. When she opened them again, the figure had vanished, but the feeling of terror remained. It's said that the most active and dangerous part of the house is its basement. Investigators believe this area is directly tied to the house's ley lines, intersecting lines of energy that many say amplify paranormal activity. But more than that, the basement may also be where the portal opened by the Hebert family resides. One paranormal investigator described his time in the basement as the most terrifying experience of his life. Armed with nothing but an EVP recorder and a flashlight, he descended into the darkness. Almost immediately, the temperature dropped, and he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps shuffling around him, though no one was there. As he tried to make contact, a low guttural growl echoed from the far corner of the room. When he asked if anyone, or anything, was there, the voice that came through on his recorder simply said, "Leave, now." It wasn't a warning, it was a threat. Many believe that demonic forces reside in the basement, and anyone who dares to enter risks being followed by them, or worse, possessed. Several people have reported being marked by these entities, leaving the house with scratches, bruises, or mysterious marks on their bodies that appeared out of nowhere. Others have reported feeling intense waves of nausea or dizziness, as if the very energy of the house was turning against them. One terrifying event involved a group of ghost hunters who were filming a documentary about the house. As they investigated the basement, one of the team members suddenly collapsed, claiming he felt as if something had entered his body, taking control. For several minutes he was unresponsive, his eyes wide and unblinking. When he finally snapped out of it, he had no memory of what had happened, but was left shaken to the core. It's not just physical attacks that make the house so dangerous. Over time, many people who have lived there or spent extended periods inside have reported a severe decline in their mental health. Depression, paranoia, and feelings of isolation are common, often intensifying the longer they remain in the house. Some say this is the house's influence, its demonic residents feeding off the emotional energy of those who enter, weakening their spirits and making them more susceptible to possession. One particularly chilling case involved a woman who stayed in the house as part of a paranormal tour. She claimed that within just a few hours of being there, she started hearing voices in her head, voices that weren't hers. They told her to hurt herself, to harm those around her. Terrified, she left the house, but the voices followed her for days. It was only after seeking help from a spiritual healer that she felt they finally left her alone. Kristin Lee, too, suffered from the house's influence. Over time, her once happy life was shattered. She became reclusive, haunted by the dark entities that roamed the halls. In 2008, after years of torment, Kristin and her family finally fled the house, leaving everything behind. They couldn't bear to stay another night. The Bellaire House remains standing today, an ominous presence in Bellaire, Ohio. For those brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough, to enter, it offers a glimpse into the world of the paranormal. But beware, what lurks inside may not be just spirits of the dead, but something far worse. If you ever find yourself near Bellaire, Ohio, and you feel a pull toward this house, resist it. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. Thanks for joining us tonight on Creepy Tales and Curiosities. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the horrors of the Bellaire House, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more terrifying tales. Stay safe, and until next time, my friends.